Good morning, dear friends of Nordic cooperation. Jukka Teräs from Nordregio, originally from Finland. So I will tell you 20 minutes about excellent Nordic policies and incentives for bioeconomy and green transition. And before I start, there are always some listeners who don't know what Nordregio is about. We are a Nordic research institute within the broad fields of regional development and urban planning. We are located in downtown Stockholm, and we are 37 staff members from 13 nationalities, annual turnover about 4 million euros. And today we talk most about green growth, innovation, entrepreneurship, but we also deal with green growth, sustainable urban regions, demography, welfare, Arctic, sustainable regional development. And some of you coming from Southern Europe, you know that sun shines in Stockholm, and the figure there is from the normal conditions. 2 weeks ago we got some exceptional conditions with 40 centimeters of fresh snow, so we have also sometimes Arctic conditions in Stockholm, but we are located there, so you are welcome to visit us. Nordic Working Group 2013-2016. It's been a journey of 4 years, and we have a steering group consisting of representatives of ministries and experts from all the Nordic countries and Nordic islands. And the mandate, to put it short, is that we will focus on the regional policy dimension of green growth, innovation and entrepreneurship. What does this mean for the regions? What is really we get out of green growth, green transition for the regions? And we have had chairmanship in Finland with Kaisu Annala chairing and Liisa Saaremaa vice-chairing. All these working groups have chairs from different countries, and we have had this under Finnish chairmanship. Before going to the kind of series of slides, which are not hopefully too many, I thought we will begin with a statement from the prestigious newspaper in North Finland called Lapin Kansa. And this is from last week, editorial from this paper, and it's in Finnish. Ennen vanhaan kaikki oli jotenkin ymmärrettävämpää. Silloin biotalouden osaamiskeskittymä oli metsätalo ja biojalostamo sellutehdas. Before, everything was easier to understand. Center of excellence, it was forest house and biorefinery, it was pulp mill. And some of us have sometimes difficulties in explaining what are we talking about, not to talk about people who don't every day deal with the bioeconomy. Why do we think a green transition is so important to the Nordic regions? Of course, we have green transition to provide environmental sustainability. At the same time, we are pragmatic, and we know that it's an engine for innovation, growth and resilience in the Nordic regions. And why especially the regions? If you think about, for example, call centers we had 10 or 20 years ago, they came to our regions and they left overnight to somewhere else. And what can you do? Bioeconomy, at least many parts of it, is global of nature, both global and local. Biomass simply can't usually be easily or cheaply transported long distances. So there is some stickiness with this bioeconomy when it comes to regions. Not a guarantee, but at least it lives longer in the regions. I think that's a point important to mention. We had already definitions of bioeconomy, and I use maximum 1 minute for our definition. But we have tried to draw circles to describe how we in our research define or categorize the green growth and bioeconomy within the green growth. And you see the balloons there. You have 3 balloons: bioeconomy, clean tech, and industrial symbiosis. And if we go to different Nordic countries, they don't agree with us. No one country has this kind of figure, but as a whole, we try to describe the Nordic green growth with these balloons. And as was told already, they are largely overlapping, and you could put the balloons in the different way too. What we have learned during the last couple of years is that one part was missing from the work we started in 2013, and it's about this digitalization, which is coming more and more into picture in all fields and sectors, including this green growth and bioeconomy. For example, a local fish farm, how should we replicate it? By making a copy to a neighboring region or sending a software program to all over Europe? What are the tools and possibilities of digitalization in promoting green growth and businesses? And I think this digitalization is entering this picture. Then you might have the question, how are we doing? How are we performing, Nordic countries, in the overall ranking of green growth and clean tech? And we have done a research together with a Gaia company for our synthesis report to find out some indicators. And the list is long. We don't go through all of them, but if you pay attention to the last but second line with the bold letters, there you have the Nordic rankings. The first number is the ranking of the country, and the second number is the total of countries. For example, Nordic ranking, global clean tech, you find Finland 2/40. Finland is number 2 in this comparison of 40 countries. And at the first sight, the figures look good. We are doing well in many indicators. But when we have a closer look, for example, if you take the left part there, you see that actually the index is about potential to produce clean tech startups. Potential to produce clean tech startups, not the number of startups, or not the accelerated SMEs or large companies from the startups. There we are really good. Even Iceland is good. It's not always included in the statistics, but all the Nordic countries are doing good. But then if you go to the right part there, far right, and you look at the attractiveness of countries, you see that within the index of 40 countries, we are not doing that well. And especially in Finland, we know that our invest in Finland is not at the very top always. And it's the same thing here. Denmark 15, Sweden 20, Norway 32, Finland 35. We are not getting nice figures there. So this attractiveness remains a problem. So overall, good figures, but some signs of worry also if we look at the indicators. What have we done during the 3.5 years within Nordregio and the research on Nordic green growth? I took the cover pages of our studies just to go quickly through. The left part you find the first one, bioeconomy in the Nordic regions from 2014. And when we have completed the long study, we put up the policy brief. We try to describe in brief what does this mean for Nordic countries and the regions. That's the lower left corner. Then in the middle, you have the potential of industrial symbiosis in the Nordic regions. Those of you who visited Nordregio Forum 2 years ago maybe remember this site. It's the Svartsengi Resource Park in Iceland, better known as Blue Lagoon. So that's one example of this industrial symbiosis, a nice combination of geothermal energy and power plant and innovative businesses and spa. Then on the upper right, you find the latest of our studies, which is a survey in the Nordic regions about how they are adopting the green growth. Do they understand at all what we are talking? Which parts of the Nordic of green growth they appreciate and do well, and which actors are really doing well? Which are the obstacles and how to overcome? That report, you've got the summary in your conference material, and the full report is coming out next week, so please feel free to visit our website and download it next week. The results are there. And then we have the green growth in Nordic regions, 50 cases of regional good practices, interesting cases all over Nordic countries. More info to come about that during these 2 days. And in the middle, there at the lower part, you have an input-output analysis. It's not only about opinions or policies or kind of new strategies. It's also number crunching. And we have one report in close cooperation with Nordic Council of Ministers for input-output effect of bioeconomy in Nordic regions. They are all freely downloadable from our website. And we heard about the Finnish roadshow. We did the same for the Nordic region, and we have visited 10 regions in the Nordic countries to communicate the research findings, but maybe even more importantly, to really find out if we are right with our conclusions, if they agree with us, and what's happening in the regions. You see the map there and the places in all 5 countries, and we have attracted more than 200 participants to these invitational seminars or events. And I think the research plus these roadshow events makes a nice picture of what is really the situation in the regions. The photo is from Mariehamn event where we have the discussion on future green growth in Åland. Then the title was where are we with the Nordic countries, with the policies and incentives, and it would be a long story. The short story is nicely described in the Nordic Council of Ministers report, State of the Play, Bioeconomy Strategies and Policies. And I quickly go through the main conclusions and update with the latest for some countries. Finland, you heard already, National Bioeconomy Strategy, governmental strategy is there. Germany, we have presentation coming. Norway, Iceland, currently preparing national bioeconomy strategies. From Norway, I got this information. It's out November 29. So just visit the Norwegian websites 1 week from here. Iceland, it's also in the very final stages, so it's coming any week quite soon. Sweden does not produce a national bioeconomy strategy. They produce a national agenda. They have a project, ongoing project for that, and we have a presentation later today on that, and it's for circular and bio-based economy, so soon available in 2017. Denmark, no strategy, no agenda. They call it growth plan for water, bio and environmental solutions, and growth plan for food. Well, we all know that the name is not the most important. It is the content and the implications. So this is the variation between the Nordic countries. We have also participants here from the Baltic countries, and more we should see us as part of the Baltic Sea region, including also Baltic states and parts of Germany there. And Estonia and Latvia are in the strategy planning phase. Lithuania and Poland, no national bioeconomy strategy yet, but every country is interested. This is really now going through the Europe and West and former East part, and everybody wants to know what to do next with the bioeconomy. Then, after saying that every nation is doing their individual strategies, the question comes, are we doing something together? And I ended up to a cartoon of a Finnish expert, CEO from energy industries, Jukka Leskelä, and his quote is, 4 Nordic countries are currently preparing their climate and energy strategies, and they don't look at all what the other Nordic countries are doing. And that made me think, is that really the case? And of course it's the case if he says so partly, and partly I disagree. We are doing something, but maybe it's time to even more disseminate what we are doing already in the Nordic and Baltic context. And the issue is very important. Could we be stronger together than only with the national bioeconomy and climate and energy strategies? What we are doing already, which is of high value, is at least two things. We have the Nordic Council of Ministers with a broad range program and all the Nordic institutions. We have Nordic Innovation, we have Nordforsk, we have also NEFCO funding them, we have Nordic Energy there. So a lot of things happening, and more in cooperation with each other. It's almost every 2 weeks we visit each other, for example, with the Copenhagen team, and I think that's a high added value. Together we are stronger in building up these Nordic and Baltic bioeconomy strategies. Second one is a specific initiative, Nordic Bioeconomy Panel. So that is the get-together first and action then, and coming down to the Nordic bioeconomy strategy in the first part of 2017. And we will hear more about that also during these 2 days. And that would be the document where the Nordic bioeconomy policies and strategies will be gathered. And the third one, Baltic Sea Region Bioeconomic Council, also inviting the Baltic Sea region and their countries to the joint activities. So a lot of things happening, and the pace is accelerating at the moment. Then some highlights from our studies and roadshow regarding the title, Nordic Green Growth Policies and Incentives. Do we have these? Do we identify them? And what are the kind of suggestions from the regions regarding these issues? First of all, the awareness and understanding of the key concepts. We had this pulp mill or biorefinery. What is in fact green economy? Green growth, are we heading for growth or transition? Industrial symbiosis and circular economy, are they parallel, the same, or how do they work together? All these things need not the full effort only for these things, but we need to clear up these definitions in order to have the structured discussion about the future. Second, ensure long-term and predictable financial support in developing regional bioeconomy. And I know that the private sector, they hate this uncertainty. The predictability is the word. We should have more and more about that long-term predictable financial support. Third one is joint Nordic demonstration plans. I hear very often in the regions, now you have talked the talk and now it's time to walk the walk and start building up these joint Nordic demonstration plans and maybe to save our costs by joint demo plant somewhere and in the Nordic region. And the fourth one, I think that's quite exciting. We are talking about the national level now, but it's very often inspired by regional level. Regional level inspires national and Nordic level policies and incentives. That's something we have learned. Quickly, a couple of examples of these regions inspiring national policies. We have an excellent program from Sweden called Winväxt, a 10-year innovation funding program by Vinnova Sweden, up to 10 years, maximum 1 million euros per year. It's long-term predictable. And that is nicely used in building up the Processum cluster, not in the metropolitan region, but in the region of Örnsköldsvik with the tradition of pulp mills and biorefineries. So they are hosting one of these Winväxt initiatives, biorefinery of the future. Second one is also present during these days here, Kemi-Tornio and inventory of sidestreams. Kemi-Tornio region in North Finland, what they are doing, they are trying to find out how much side streams they have to present for the industrial symbiosis. And They did the very simple way. They went to the companies and asked and found out. And now they have the list of inventory presented by Kari Poikala, the project director there. And what I think is quite interesting, that the summary list of these side streams is available, for example, to foreign companies considering location in the Kemi-Tornio region. So maybe we should think of a broader use of this simple tool of listing these side streams. And the third one is regional green branding. We have nice examples of good Nordic green growth branding: Bornholm, Värmland, Samsjö, Växjö, many of them here also presented during these days. But at the roadshow we learned also that some regions are really struggling. Challenge in our region: weak regional branding that copycats others rather than creates a green profile based on characteristics of our region. Regions admit something could be done better, and they want to find good practices. Well, you have a Bornholm, bright green island there. You have Värmland there with their smart specialization in bioeconomy. And then the question comes, could we even use that in the national level for increased Nordic green branding, again inspired by the regions? Then do we have these incentives? We heard already that we are getting incentives, for example, from the new national climate and energy strategy in Finland. Norway has been very successful with all electric cars. The joint Nordic initiatives, we need more. And I did not invent this myself, but I combined some ideas and came up to the idea of Nordic Green Transition Award in the style of Millennium Green Prize, which is the Finnish technology prize of 1 million euros, was it biannually or every third year? Maybe we could do something like that to higher our profile also and to get people focused on our joint Nordic green growth development. The other one is how to promote our joint Nordic green growth initiatives. We have a nice initiative of Nordisk Symbiose Network coming up partly from our Nordic roadshows, which started in Kalundborg, Denmark, and the discussion continues there. Maybe we could support these kinds of initiatives also in the future. And to start concluding, is there Nordic added value to be created? And I just list to show you that yes, there is. We have the joint Nordic learning from our programs. Then what is maybe one of the most important is this know-who, this Nordic and Baltic matchmaking, but one of the key issues also today and tomorrow. Joint Nordic lobbying and international visibility, for example, towards EU. We are simply too shy. We should be there more often. We should be there together. Joint Nordic pilots, demo plants. Fortunately, bioeconomy strategy is coming. Maybe there is also a role for these Nordic cross-border cooperation committees in the future in promoting this Nordic added value. And last but not least here, joint Nordic businesses. It's the euros and jobs that count in the end of the day. And final slide is about how do we continue the work. Together with the Gaia company, the Nordic Working Group has recently produced a vision and roadmap how to get further on. And the bold vision would be that Nordic regions jointly lead the way to sustainable growth in the short and the long term. And we have put it in 3 baskets: green growth as an integral part of regional strategies and actions. Business in the regions is based on the sustainable solutions. And finally, regional actors are active in Nordic and global ecosystems. Under each box we have a working program waiting for the next 4 years to come. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Jukka, and let me invite you to join me here, and we'll be seated in the middle, so that because I feel so sorry for you who are so far from the stage so often. Jukka, have a seat. And here's your microphone, and we got another microphone if you have questions that you want to post to Jukka. And many of you actually already did on the website using the hashtag #NordicGreen. And so Jukka, I would want to start by asking you, why is the Nordic area a logic area for cooperation? Because we know some of the Nordic countries are not even part of the European Union. Sweden and Finland, we are largely forestry countries. Denmark is largely agriculture. Why is it logical to work within the Nordics?
I would start with the natural resources. There is a rich diversity, you are correct, but we all use our natural resources and try to find a sustainable way of using. I think the other is the Nordic culture. Even though there are some hindrances and obstacles, we are quite a homogeneous region together with our business cultures. And one thing is also trust. There is still Nordic trust, which is not highly appreciated or named, but I think that is one of the elements here too.
Jukka, I know this is going to sound like a very personal question, but how do we get more attractive? Because when I looked at those figures, and particularly one where there were 40 countries, and Finland and Sweden, we were in Norway were in the bottom half, and Denmark was just above the bottom half, I thought we would be doing much better.
Not an easy question, but I would say that we should first get this awareness thing, and so that people pay more attention, and that's something I had in mind when I put this Green Millennium Prize, so that it would really be. I'm not proposing a Nobel, but people have some ideas towards Nordic countries when it comes to prestigious prizes. So that could be one way of paying more attention. But of course, it's hard work. But also we should all tell more about our work. For example, the Sitra work last week in Marrakesh was a good 15 Nordic examples of climate-saving energy. We try to do the same with our 50 cases. I think the clear examples, 2-page maximum, it's the trend of today. If you don't have the energy to read 100 pages, these 1-2 pages really maybe pay more attention. And it's not only reports, we should be out there, as I wrote, the visibility in the EU.
It's always hard to brag about yourself, so let me do that for you. That the 50 cases study is really a nice and easy read. Great examples. Here's a question. Bring the mic, and while the mic is coming that way, let me meanwhile ask you a question that was already put on #NordicGreen. Your focus was the countries. How about the civil society? How about the municipalities? How about the startups? What role do you see there?
Of course, there is a great role, and the more we look at it, the more we see that it's bottom-up. And having said that, we did our third study, which was the study of the regions and municipalities in the beginning. And we found out that regarding Nordic regions, we got nice answers, nicely covered. But when we moved one step closer to the consumers, to the municipalities, we were really disappointed. We didn't get the replies. And in the end, we think that the penetration is not yet there. We should go even more, spend more time to be more clear with our biorefineries and pulp mills and concepts. And we should really open up these concepts and say, what does this mean for a single consumer and municipality? And we are not there yet.
Thank you. Let's hear the question.
Actually, this is not a question. I'm Kaisu Annala, and chair of the working group. Just commenting this attractiveness of the Nordic regions and Nordic countries. The question is about being how the best ones or the most attractive countries are China, India and USA. And the question is exactly of the size of the region, and to have these Nordic countries working together, we are larger as a region. What would be these numbers if that would indicate Nordic region?
So the more we pool the resources, the more attractive we become.
There is some kind of critical mass effect even here, so that we should be stronger, bigger.
And don't be shy. Some of you put your questions on the #NordicGreen and some of you didn't. So raise your hand if you feel that you want the microphone. And meanwhile, let me ask you, because you pointed out the need for long-term stability and long-term rules. Now I'm always worried and wondering, do we really want that? if in 2016 we would be sitting by 1992 years of rules and regulations, would we really be better off?
I will answer to another question,
Okay,
which is that what was done right at this Örnsköldsvik case. I think it was so hands-on pragmatic to support their innovation system there, to build up the cluster, to get everybody on board, and to say that we don't have that much money. We have 10 million Swedish crowns per year or 1 million euros, but we put it for the next 10 years. That means 2.5 election periods in many of our Nordic countries. And you start thinking, they really believe in us and in this region. The nation believes in us, be a part of the Winnevex team for the next 10 years. Of course, you could say that let's take easy now, at least the first 3 years, but that's not the case. People are really pushing.
I love that push. Let's hear if this question is not a quest for a push.
This is from Minor Change Group in Denmark. I saw your figure here where you split up the different, you split up bioeconomy, circular economy, and clean tech, and so on. It could be very good for the understanding, but sometimes it also maybe be a bit tricky because it's very coherent. And actually, in my opinion, we're working a lot with circular economy and also bioeconomy together. We actually see it as, I think if you split bioeconomy and circular economy, you can end up, if you only see it solely on bioeconomy, you can maybe end up with the same things, faults you have in the linear economy. So I think we have to look, see bioeconomy together with circular economy to recover the resources. So I think that's when we talk about things, maybe we should. It could be good for analytical purposes to split them up, but when you think about it, when you practice it, maybe you should really mix it together again, especially bioeconomy and circular economy.
Thank you. I love that. How do we integrate the concept, which is out there and being discussed so much, but how do we integrate the concept of circular economy in what we're doing?
Thank you for raising this question. We struggled half a year with our working group before really getting down to business, and then you have to say that there is I think there are no holistic reports explaining this in a good way, so you have to be pragmatic and at one point. And an example of circular economy, should we include Airbnb and Uber? And are they part or not? And how does it relate to bioeconomy? And then you have to put first the context, it is this bioeconomy and using natural resources. And then you have the different traditions in each country and political agendas. For example, clean tech is not known in all the Nordic countries. In some countries it's frequently used. But I agree with you, there is a lot of work to do with the conceptualization.
And finally, because here you have practitioners, you have policy, you have the Nordic countries and some of our friends from Northern Europe as well. And we got the research department, municipalities are here also, regions and countries. What is your #1 advice to all of us?
Well, for these 2 days is, of course, believe in Nordic, invest more in the Nordic cooperation, and from talk to walk, and more cases and more pragmatic approaches. We take care of most of the research, but I know you want results, euros and jobs. Let's do it together.
Thank you so much, Jukka. What a wonderful conclusion. Thank you.